You know about minimalism. You've cut the subscriptions, skipped the $7 latte, done everything the advice tells you to do. But the tightness in your chest never really leaves. You see people your age posting from Cabo, driving off in leased BMWs, and you just assume they're rich, different rules apply to them. Still, some nights, a quieter question shows up. Not how to save more, how to make the money you already have grow bigger, double, triple, work without you. So tonight, same as every other Friday, you open the app to check. Why saving feels like progress. The transfer confirmation lands 9 minutes after you close the banking app. $200 moved from checking to savings, automatic, the way it's been every other Friday since February. You don't even open the notification anymore. You just see the little blue badge on your Chase icon and feel something settle in your chest. A small, private exhale. You did the thing. You're one of the good ones. You've built a whole identity around this. Direct deposit hits at 6 a.m., $2,746 after taxes, and by 6:09 the transfer's already gone, sliced off before you can talk yourself out of it. Your roommate Devin still gets paid the same day you do, and he still spends most of Friday night buying rounds at the bar 2 blocks from your apartment. You watch him do it from across the table, nursing a beer you already paid for weeks ago, and you feel that quiet, superior calm of a person who has their act together. He'll wake up Saturday with a hangover and a smaller number. You'll wake up with the same balance you had yesterday, just bigger. Technically bigger. That's the part nobody tells you. The number does go up. Every 2 weeks, without fail, it ticks a little higher, and your brain reads that as proof. Proof you're ahead. Proof the plan is working. You've watched enough of your friends live paycheck to paycheck. Watched Devin's card get declined at the grocery store last month. Watched him laugh it off and try a different one. That your own slow, steady $200 feels less like a strategy and more like a virtue. You're not chasing anything flashy. No leased BMW, no credit card debt disguised as a lifestyle. Just a Chase savings account and a habit you don't have to think about. You even feel a little proud scrolling through Instagram some nights. Your coworker Renata posted a story last week from a work trip to Cabo, tagged some resort, captioned it like she'd earned a break, and she probably had. But you remember thinking, quietly, almost smugly, I could go somewhere like that too if I wanted. I'm the one being smart. You didn't book the trip. You didn't need to prove anything. The $200 was proof enough. Here's what you don't do, though, in any of this. You don't open the account details page. You don't scroll down to where it says annual percentage yield. You don't ask what that number actually is, because asking would mean doing math, and doing math would mean maybe finding out something you don't want to know. So you don't. You just watch the total climb. $6,200 now, then $6,400. And let the climbing stand in for the answer. It's not that you're careless. It's the opposite. You've done everything a responsible person is supposed to do. You automated it. You didn't touch it. You let it sit exactly where a financially healthy person is supposed to let their money sit. Nobody ever told you that sit and grow aren't the same instruction, that a number can climb every single Friday and still be, in every way that matters, standing completely still. You'd have found out eventually. You just didn't expect to find out from a percentage sign you'd been scrolling past for 8 months, sitting right there under your balance, waiting for you to actually read it. The rule of 72 explained. You're sitting in your car outside the Target on Ben White Boulevard, waiting on a curbside order that's running 12 minutes late, and there's nothing to do but sit with your phone. So you open the app again, not the notification screen this time, the actual account. You scroll down, past the balance, past the transfer history, to the line you've walked past 100 times without reading. Annual percentage. Yield 0.61%. You've seen that number before. You've just never asked it a question. Your coworker Marisol texted you last week. A screenshot, half joking, of her own savings account at some online bank called Ally, paying something like 4%. You'd glanced at it, said nice, and gone back to your day. You didn't do the math then. You do it now, in a parking lot, engine off, air conditioning fading. You type it into your phone's calculator like it's nothing. 72 divided by 0.61. 118. You stare at the number like it might recalculate itself if you wait long enough. It doesn't. 118 years. That's how long it would take your $6,400 to become $12,800, sitting exactly where it is, doing exactly what you've been so proud of it for doing. You wouldn't see that day. Your kids wouldn't see that day. Whoever inherits your Chase account 4 generations from now might see that day. You didn't know the math had a name until this exact moment, but it does. The rule of 72, and it's almost insultingly simple once you see it. Take the number 72, divide it by whatever rate your money is actually earning. Whatever comes out the other side is the number of years it takes to double. No spreadsheet, no advisor, just division you could do standing in line at HEB. And once you know the formula, you can't stop running it. That's the part that gets you. The way it starts working on everything. Marisol's 4% account. 72 divided by 4 is 18 years. Still slow, but human scale. Something you could actually live to see twice. You picture her opening that account on a random Tuesday. Not because she read a book about it, just because someone mentioned a number and she happened to be curious enough to ask. You weren't. That's the thing sitting heaviest in your chest right now, in this parking lot, with your food getting cold in some stranger's trunk 2 spots over. You've been checking a balance for 8 months and never once asked what was actually happening underneath it. You assumed automatic meant optimized. You assumed responsible meant done. The Target employee taps on your window with a bag and a bored smile, and you take it, say thanks, set it on the passenger seat without looking at it. You're still doing the math, because if 0.61% gets you a doubling time longer than your own lifetime, and 4% gets you there in 18 years. What does a number bigger than 4% get you? What if it wasn't a savings account at all? You don't know yet. You just know there's a gap now, a real one, sitting between the account you have and the account you could have, and it's got a shape to it for the first time. A number attached, a formula behind it, something you can actually hold instead of just feeling vaguely behind. You put the car in reverse, food forgotten in the passenger seat, and you're already thinking about where else that formula might take you. Savings rate versus S&P 500 returns. The Target bag sits on your kitchen counter for 3 days before you actually eat any of it. That's not the point, though. What sticks is the formula, running quietly in the back of your head every time you open an app that shows you a number. Your 401k portal at work, your Venmo balance, even the little interest line on your student loan statement. Everything's got a rate now. Everything's got a doubling time. You're at your desk on a Wednesday, microwave burrito going cold 2 feet away. When your phone buzzes, it's Caleb. You've known him since your sophomore year at UT. He does back-end development for a healthcare startup downtown, makes maybe 10 grand more than you a year, which has never once bothered you until this exact text. He sent a screenshot. No caption. Just his Fidelity app, a Roth IRA balance sitting at $14,200, most of it parked in something called VOO. You text back, nice. What's that earning you? Casual. The way you'd ask about anything. He says the S&P 500's averaged around 10% a year going back decades. Not every year. Some years it drops, some years it jumps. But stretched out over time, that's the number people quote. Historical average. You don't even need your calculator this time. The math's already loading before you finish reading his text. 72 divided by 10. 7.2. His money, assuming that average holds the way it has for the better part of a century, doubles roughly every 7 years. Not 18, not 118. 7. You sit with that for a second, burrito forgotten, and something in your stomach drops, the way it does when you realize you've been playing a different game than everyone else without knowing the rules changed. Caleb's not smarter than you. He's not richer than you. He just opened an account you've never opened, put money into something you've never looked at, and let 7 years do what 118 years was supposed to do for you. You open your own banking app right there at your desk, thumb moving before you've fully decided to. Chase savings, $6,400, 0.61% APY. Then you open a new tab and type in Fidelity. You don't do anything yet, you just look at the sign-up screen. The way you'd look at a door you're not sure you're allowed to walk through. Because here's what nobody explained to you before today. A savings account and an index fund aren't cousins. They're not two flavors of the same idea. One of them is a place to park money so it doesn't disappear. The other is a place to put money so it grows. Actual ownership in actual companies. Thousands of them at once, riding the whole economy instead of sitting outside it, collecting a rounding error every month. You think about the last 8 months. 16 transfers, $200 each, $3,200 total, moved with real discipline into an account that was, in the plainest terms you now understand, barely moving at all. You weren't wrong to save. You were wrong about where. Caleb texts again, some joke about beating you to a house down payment, and you laugh, actually laugh, alone at your desk. Because it's true and it's not even mean. It's just math. 7 years versus 118. That's not a gap you close by trying harder. That's a gap you close by moving the money somewhere else entirely. You close the Fidelity tab for now. Not because you've talked yourself out of it, because you're not ready to open an account on your lunch break without understanding what you're actually buying into or what it costs you to keep waiting. Inflation is doing the same math. The rent renewal email hits your inbox on a Thursday morning. Subject line, your lease renewal options. And you almost don't open it because you already know what it says. You open it anyway. $1,850 a month, up from $1,720. A $130 jump on the same 650 square foot one bedroom off South Lamar you've lived in for 2 years. Same water stain on the bathroom ceiling. Same slow elevator. Nothing about the place itself has changed except the number on the page. You do the math without meaning to. You can't stop doing math anymore. Not since the parking lot. Not since Caleb's screenshot. $130 times 12 is $1,560 a year. Gone before it ever reaches your Chase account. You think about your $200 transfers, the ones you've been so proud of, and realize your landlord just took away nearly 8 of them in a single email. That afternoon, you're at the H-E-B on Slaughter Lane, and it happens again, smaller but sharper. A rotisserie chicken that used to run $7.99 rings up at $9.49. You almost say something to the cashier, an older guy named Walt who's clearly heard this complaint 11 times already today, and instead you just tap your card and carry the bag out into the heat. This is the part that finally clicks for you, standing in a parking lot for the second time this month with groceries instead of a curbside order. The number in your savings account was never just competing against itself. It was competing against this, against rent going up, against chicken going up, against everything around you getting quietly, steadily more expensive while your account sat there earning 0.61% and calling it progress. You pull out your phone, right there by the cart return, and you run the formula again. The same one, pointed in a different direction this time. Inflation's been running around 4.2% this year, the number you half remember from a headline you scrolled past last week. 72 divided by 4.2. 17.1 years. 17 years for the dollar in your pocket right now to lose half of what it can actually buy. Not disappear, just quietly stop stretching as far. The same rotisserie chicken that costs $9.49 today costs something closer to $19 in the world your money's aging into, if it just sits there the way it's been sitting. You think about your Chase account again, the one doubling every 118 years, and something reorganizes itself in your head. It's not really doubling at all, not in any way that matters. Inflation's having your buying power every 17 years, while your balance limps toward doubling over a century. You're not standing still, you're losing, just slowly enough that it never feels like losing. You think about Marisol's 4% online savings account, barely keeping pace with inflation, not really beating it. You think about Caleb's 10% index fund, actually pulling ahead, actually winning the race. Nobody told you that you were running. Somewhere out past both of them, you picture a life where this math stops being a threat. A Cartier tank must on your wrist that you paid for outright. No financing, because the money behind it grew faster than the world got expensive around it. You're nowhere near that yet. But for the first time, You can see the shape of the road between here and there. You load the groceries into your trunk, chicken already going lukewarm in its plastic clamshell, and you're doing one more piece of math before you even start the engine. Not about what your money's earning anymore, but about what it's costing you to keep it exactly where it is. Starting at 26 versus starting at 36. The 401k email lands the same week as the grocery run. Open enrollment ends Friday. And normally you'd archive it without reading past the subject line. This time, you don't. You click through to the benefits portal, and for the first time, you actually read the line about your employer match. 4%, dollar for dollar, free money you've apparently been leaving on the table since your first paycheck here. There's a lunch session in the third floor conference room that afternoon. Sandwiches from Jason's Deli, an HR rep named Gwen walking through slides nobody's really watching. You're watching, though. She mentions the 2026 numbers. Employees under 50 can put up to $24,500 into a 401k this year, and a Roth on top of that maxes out at $7,500. You don't need either ceiling. You just need to start somewhere south of it. Next to you, picking the crust off a turkey sandwich, is Nate from Accounts Payable, 34, been at the company almost as long as you've been alive at your current job. And he leans over during the Q&A and says, quiet, half joking, I didn't open my Roth till this year. 34. Wish somebody'd cornered me at 26. He laughs it off. You don't? Because you're 26, 27 in November, and you're sitting there running the only formula you know how to run anymore. If you started today, $350 a month into an S&P 500 fund averaging that 10% Caleb mentioned, left alone until you're 65. That's 38 years, better than 5 full doubling cycles at 7.2 years apiece. You do the multiplication in your notes app under the table, something north of $1.8 million. Then, you run Nate's version. Not out of judgment, out of curiosity, the kind that used to scare you and now just feels like information. 10 years later, same goal, same finish line at 65. To land anywhere close, he'd need to put in $550 a month instead of your $350. Over $200 more every single time. And even then, he only gets 28 years, under 4 doubling cycles. The number he'd land on is just over $1 million. More money in, less money out. Not because he's bad with money, because the clock started 10 years later, and no contribution size fully buys that decade back. You look at Nate, still talking about something else now, some baseball game, completely unaware he just became a math problem in your head. He's not behind because he's careless. He genuinely didn't know, the same way you didn't know 8 months ago, checking a static balance and calling it discipline. The formula doesn't care about effort. It cares about start date. Gwen's still up front, clicking to a slide about vesting schedules, and you're filling out the enrollment form on your phone before she's even finished the sentence. 4% into the 401k, enough to catch the full match, the rest earmarked for a Roth IRA you're opening tonight. Not the max. Not yet. Just started, which apparently is the only part of this that actually matters on a calendar. Nate asks what you're doing on your phone. You tell him. He goes quiet for a second, then says, mostly to himself, man, 26, like it's a place he can see from where he's standing but can't get back to. You can still see it too. Right now, this Friday, this deli sandwich, this lunch session you almost skipped. The version of you that starts today isn't smarter than the version that waits. It's just earlier. And for the first time, you understand exactly what that decade is worth in real dollars. Sitting in a conference room, doing math, nobody assigned you. What $100,000 a year in returns buys? It's a Tuesday night, 3 weeks into the new habit, 4% into the 401k, first Roth contribution sitting in a Fidelity account you still don't fully know how to navigate. And you're doing what you always do when you can't sleep, scrolling real estate you can't afford. Zillow, not Instagram, that's new too. You land on a listing in Cape Coral, Florida, a 3-bedroom on a saltwater canal. Boat lift included, listed at $850,000. You've never been to Cape Coral. You couldn't point to it on a map with any confidence, but the listing photos have that late afternoon light that makes even a stranger's kitchen look like something you're supposed to want, and you sit with it longer than you mean to. You do the math before you can stop yourself. You've read that a portfolio of $1 million held in something averaging that same 10% you keep running into throws off roughly $100,000 a year. Not by selling anything, not by touching the principal, just the return itself, showing up like a paycheck nobody has to clock in for. You picture your Fidelity Roth balance right now. 4 figures, barely. And you know exactly how far that number is from a million. You're not there. You want to be honest with yourself about that, sitting alone on your couch at 11 p.m. You're not pretending you're there. But you run the rest of the math anyway, because that's the part that actually holds your attention. On that $850,000 house with 20% down at the current mortgage rate, 6.52%, the number you saw on a news alert last week without registering it, the payment comes out to around $4,300 a month, just over $51,000 a year, which means that hypothetical $100,000 in portfolio income doesn't just cover the mortgage, it covers it with room left over without you ever touching the paycheck from your actual job at all. You think about Nate at the deli lunch, about the $1.8 million your 26-year-old start is aimed at by 65. This is what's sitting inside that number. Once you strip the abstraction off it, not a lottery ticket, not a fantasy, a house on a canal you'll never visit unless you save for it, purchased by money that grew instead of money you handed over directly. You keep scrolling, half out of curiosity now, and land on something smaller and sharper, a Porsche 911 Carrera in Guards Red, base trim sitting around $106,000 out the door. You do that math too, out of habit more than desire. 1 year of that hypothetical $100,000 income, paid in cash, no loan, no 6.99% auto rate eating into it for 5 years. Not because the car is the point, because paying for it outright from money that worked while you didn't is a completely different sentence than financing it against next month's paycheck, which is closer to how you've watched people your age actually buy cars, including, if you're honest, how you almost bought yours 2 years ago. You close the Zillow tab a little after midnight, phone screen going dark against your palm. You're not rich. You're barely 3 weeks into any of this. But something's different about the way you looked at that listing tonight compared to how you'd have looked at it a year ago. Not longing exactly, more like recognition. You can see the mechanism now. You know what building toward it actually requires, in dollars and years and doubling cycles, instead of just knowing that other people, somehow, end up there. You set your phone on the nightstand, face down, and for the first time in 8 months, you're not thinking about your Chase balance at all. What the number was waiting for. You open the Chase app one more time before bed. $1,240.18. Still there. Still slow. Still exactly what it was the night this started. But you're not looking at it the same way. You know now it was never lazy. It was just parked somewhere that couldn't move. The formula doesn't disappear once you learn it. It follows you into every rate, every APY line you used to scroll past, every listing you'll ever look at twice. Tomorrow, the transfer still hits, still $200, still not enough on its own, and that part doesn't get easier just because you understand it. But you'll open a different app now. And somewhere between tonight and 65, you're going to want to know exactly how many doublings you have left.